When you spend thousands on a luxury handbag, do you ever wonder where it's really made? Before we go further, I want you to tell me in the comments, do you think the country of origin changes the value of a luxury item? Because what I discovered this week completely changed how I see luxury, and it might change how you shop forever. I didn't find this on TikTok, I saw it casually while browsing YouTube, and then again on a news site. The so-called scandal about Chinese factories making luxury bags for a fraction of the price. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait, why is everyone so shocked? Long story short, someone published a video showing how Chinese manufacturers are making the exact same luxury bags that are later sold in the West for thousands. Like, we're paying $3,000 for something that costs maybe $100 to make, and mostly, we're just paying for the logo, not the craftsmanship, not the material, just the branding. And honestly, the more I looked into it, the more it felt like this wasn't really a scandal at all. Think about it. Every one of those so-called expose TikToks, they all came with direct links on where to buy the bags or jewelry. It's not some hidden leak. It's a viral ad campaign, just disguised as a scandal. China's factory owners basically used outrage as a marketing strategy.
This is why this bag from our factory only cost you 1,000 USD, but even better quality and craftsmanship. We are the same group of people, the same group of artisans who have been making the boutique bags for those luxury brands.
And it worked. Millions of views, free press, and suddenly everyone's curious about these $300 dupes that may or may not be made in the same factories as the originals. So yeah, in my opinion, this isn't a scandal, it's marketing, and it went viral. But here's the real twist. It forces us to ask, if the bags are the same, why are we okay with paying 10 times more? What are we really buying when we buy luxury? Let's unpack that, because it's way deeper than just handbags. And honestly, this isn't even new. It's fashion's biggest open secret. We all know about it. We just don't talk about it out loud. But here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Why? Because this time, the conversation flipped. I went down the rabbit hole. Reddit threads, YouTube comments, Discord debates. One person wrote, "Don't hate the Chinese, hate the brands for ripping people off." And you know what? I kind of agreed. The outrage wasn't about products being made in China. It was about being lied to, about illusion, about how we've all been sold this dream that made in France or made in Italy automatically equals value. And that's the real scandal, not the factories, the branding. Let me explain what I mean right now. See, what most people don't realize, and luxury brands will never tell you, is there's something called the substantial transformation rule. In places like France and the European Union, a product can legally be labeled made in France if the last big change happens there, even if every zipper, strap, stitch, and panel was made in China. Let's say a factory in Guangdong makes the entire bag, the body, the hardware, even the embroidery. Then they ship all the parts to Paris, and in a French atelier someone adds a strap or attaches the logo. Voila. Now it's made in France. It's not illegal, but it's misleading. And that's what these TikTok videos are really exposing. Not that luxury brands are outsourcing, but that they're selling us an idea of Europe when most of the work is done elsewhere. So yes, your favorite made in France bag might have spent 90% of its life in a Chinese factory, and all it took was one tiny finishing touch in Europe to make it luxury. That's not craftsmanship, that's strategy. So, my personal thoughts on this? Well, honestly, I'm not against outsourcing. We live in a fast economy, with fast trends and faster expectations. And businesses have to survive. That includes luxury brands. Today, more and more people aren't even chasing ultra-luxury anymore. They're shifting into mid-level luxury, or what they now call accessible luxury. So, if a brand decides to produce in China, I get it. There are brilliant factories, skilled workers, and production efficiencies that just make sense. I'm not offended by that. But what I don't love is the label, or the lack of it. Think about Apple. Every iPhone says, designed in California, assembled in China, and no one questions it, because they're honest about it, transparent. And I think that would be the perfect path for luxury brands too. Just say it. If 90% or 99% of the product is made in China, tell us, because that's when it stops being business and starts feeling like betrayal. And if luxury is really about trust, longevity, and craftsmanship, then shouldn't honesty be part of that? Before we move on, what do you think? Would you ever buy from a direct-to-factory seller if the quality matched a designer piece? Or is the label still worth it to you? Let's talk in the comments. Think about it. The loudest luxury is often the least luxurious. The people who need to wear the label are rarely the ones who can afford the lifestyle.
You know, also the word of luxury it's a word was not a little overused, because to buy expensive handbag, to buy things expensive called luxury is one thing, but even people, tons of people who buy that don't have a life what you can call a life of luxury, what means private jets and all that. That's in fact the real luxury is limited to very, very few people. People can dream with a Chanel bag that they live in luxury, but luxury in fact is something else.
You've probably noticed, bold logos are out. People now associate them with fast fashion copies, cheap flexing, and trend chasing. But here's the contradiction. Status hasn't disappeared. It just evolved. Look at the Birkin. No logo. No giant monogram. And yet everyone knows exactly what it is. The bag itself has become the logo. It whispers money, power, taste. But in doing so, it's actually become the loudest flex of all. And that's where it gets complicated. Because when something becomes too recognizable, even without a logo, it starts to feel like a uniform. And worse, it starts to feel cheap. Not cheap in price, cheap in intention. Because the second something is worn to signal status instead of self, it loses its soul. Now, before we all throw our luxury bags into a bonfire, let's pause. Because here's something that rarely gets talked about. There are several respected French brands that do manufacture part of their collections in China and still maintain high quality. In fact, in some cases, the craftsmanship is so sharp, you'd never know it wasn't made in Europe. Take Sandro, Maje, or Claudie Pierlot, all part of the SMCP group. A significant portion of their production is done in China, but their designs still feel premium. Why? Because they maintain strict quality control, use high-end fabrics, and borrow tailoring cues from traditional French fashion houses. Are they bespoke? Not exactly, but they feel elevated. The cuts are sharp, the fabrics drape beautifully, and the finishing details are well executed. Or take Cézanne. They produce a lot of their items in Portugal and Italy, but their knitwear and accessories often made in China, and yet their pieces feel artisanal. Cézanne is transparent about their factories, often working with family-run ateliers and emphasizing both sustainability and quality. So even their China-made items feel thoughtful and refined. The couples, also partially made in Asia, including China, but they've carved out their niche with an edgy French aesthetic, sleek tailoring, and consistently clean construction. AMI Paris produces some basics and accessories in China, but no one questions the quality. Their high-end materials and precise design details hold up to luxury expectations. Let's be honest, this isn't really a new scandal. Luxury brands outsourcing production? That's been happening for years. But maybe that's a good thing, because this is the perfect time to pause and just reevaluate. Ask yourself, do I really need that luxury? Is it for me or for the idea of me? Am I buying something I love or something I hope will make me feel enough? There's no shame in loving beautiful things, but maybe the real luxury isn't the item. Maybe it's the clarity to choose only what truly reflects who you are. If you want to support your favorite local or luxury brand, that's perfectly fine. But just remember, respect has to go both ways. If a brand wants your loyalty, your money, your trust, they should be honest with you. Not play games with labels, not hide behind heritage while outsourcing in silence. Because otherwise, it's just business, just marketing. And let's be real, in that equation, the consumer is the one who ends up looking like the fool. Choose luxury, but choose it with your eyes open. And just to be clear, I'm not against this kind of production. And I'm not fully for it either, because honestly, as a customer, as a consumer, I know I can never be 100% sure where things are really made. Not with clothes, not with accessories, not even with food anymore. Sometimes it's done in a way that we're probably better off not knowing the full story. But here's what I keep coming back to. And maybe it's the only thing that matters. If you're paying so much for something, and they still choose to bullshit you, then the question becomes, should you still trust them? Should you still buy from them? That's the only question I want to leave with you today. Quick question for you. What is luxury to you? Is it the origin, the story, the stitching, or is it simply how it makes you feel? Drop your thoughts below because I'm reading every comment. Luxury doesn't have to mean overpriced. It doesn't have to mean European. It doesn't have to mean exclusive or exclusionary. Luxury can mean well-made, considered, aligned with your values. Maybe that means you invest in a handmade Italian loafer, or maybe it means you support a brilliant Chinese designer who's finally getting global attention thanks to the social media. Both can be right. Both can be luxury. So, what is real luxury? In a world that moves too fast, where we're chasing deadlines, dopamine hits, and discounts, real luxury is something else entirely. Real luxury is time. It's choosing stillness over speed, taking a deep breath, wearing something because it feels good on your skin, not just because it's trending online. It's honesty in how a product is made, in how a brand speaks to you, in how you speak to yourself. It's emotional connection. That piece you hold on to, not because it's expensive, but because it reminds you of who you were when you bought it, or who you became while wearing it. Yes, beautiful things can make us feel seen. A tailored coat, a beautiful pair of shoes, a silk blouse that moves with your body. They do matter. They do elevate. But before all of that, the first thing you should wear is love. Love for yourself. Not love for the idea of being special, but for the truth that you already are. That, to me, is the real luxury. Want to go deeper into what real luxury means? Click on this next.